Round 15 in the NBL is underway. It started off in some pretty fine style last night in Sydney. We're here to break all that down for you and look ahead to what is a massive weekend with the Summer Shootout starting as well on Saturday Night Hoops. Joel Peterson and Damon Lowery with you this morning. Good morning, Damon.
Good morning, Adrian Peterson, I assume.
Yeah.
Well played, man.
A little bit of that.
Inform our viewers, our listeners, about the significance of that jersey you're wearing.
Yeah, so if you're with us in the podcast form, I've got the beautiful Minnesota Vikings jersey. My man Adrian Peterson, who was a great player, not so in line with what he has done post-career, I think it's fair to say. But a big game for the Vikings on Monday. Yeah, they've got a massive game against the Detroit Lions. Hopefully they can come away with that, win the NFC North, roll into the playoffs with Sam Darnold, of all people. So I'm a big Vikings man. So this is it's about the only team that I have in world sport that I actually feel quite passionate about. So I'm really rolling with the Vikings at the moment.
Well, I'm still waiting for somebody named Lowery to play for the Cowboys.
We'll get there. We'll see who's in the college ranks and see if we can make that happen. Hey, let's talk hoops because this round of NBL got started. Yeah, it was a great game last night in Sydney. So the Kings took on South East Melbourne. They found themselves in an almighty hole of hosts and produced the biggest comeback in this NBL season to win by 5, 110-105. So another high-scoring game between these two teams. Jaylen Adams was magnificent, particularly in that last quarter when they outscored South East Melbourne pretty comfortably. The comeback Kings, hey, what did you make of that?
Man, that game had everything. That was a playoff basketball game for mine. High scoring, which we all like to watch. Defense, like I said, if you come here looking for defense, you've come to the wrong place. Now, you just have to play defense in stretches, in patches. You don't have to do it for 40 minutes. So I think that's unrealistic given just the nature of the beast, the way this season is, the talent on all the teams, the depth. It's going to be hard to keep the team under 100 points. That's just seems to be the way. But I felt like the Kings were gone. And Southeast Melbourne Phoenix will wake up this morning feeling very bad. They blew one. You can't blow an 18-point lead. You just can't do it. I mean, they was up 13 going into the fourth quarter, 12 after that tech foul that Angus Glover gave away. But on one end, I want to really talk about how bad the Phoenix played to blow that lead. You got to do everything wrong. You got to poorly execute on offense. You got to turn the ball over. You got to miss free throws. You got to foul all the time. Now, some people might say that the Kings got a real soft whistle, a nice some home cooking, if you will. Hey, adjust. Like the Navy SEALs, Joe. You got to adjust and adapt, and the Phoenix didn't do that. Now, to the Kings' credit, Jaylen Adams is I'm out of superlative to talk about this dude's level of point guard play. Xavier Cooks was a monster. Alex Tui. So Brian Gorgian went with 3 dudes to get 30 minutes. Tui, Cooks, Adams. Them are your 30-minute guys. He closed the game with big shot Kawat Noy, who gave you a nice 20 points in 23 minutes or whatever. And then he had a nice little combo of Bull Quall and Malawach. Sean Bruce started the point. And that was 22 valuable minutes just to let Jaylen kind of feel himself into the game. I really like that balance that the Kings had and what they closed out with. Small ball is just how the Kings have no choice but to play with because they have no size whatsoever. And I thought Cam Oliver was also great in his minutes.
Yeah, it's an impressive recipe. 110-101 it was the way of the Sydney Kings, by the way. So a correction to what I said earlier. So it's a 27-point turnaround since they trailed by 18 late in that third quarter. So pretty extraordinary. If you're Brian Gorgian, now the challenge is, okay, we've seen what you can deliver. We've been waiting for this moment all season of when we come together and when we coalesce and when we find our best as a group. Maybe we found it in this fourth quarter. How do you harness it? How do you think he takes this and runs forward with it, Damon?
Well, I would do it differently. Now, when it's all said and done, Brian Gorgian is the GOAT of coaching in Australian basketball. That don't mean I can't disagree with him. Little lowly Damon Lowery is going to just disagree. I feel like Brian's got to be consistent now with the minutes and with the guys that you're playing. Now, if you all of a sudden chop and change and then all of a sudden, you know, give Tyler Robertson 20 minutes, and this is no disrespect to none of those dudes, if all of a sudden you're going to give Isaiah Leoffa 25 minutes, it's going to throw everything out of whack again. Then you're going to always be searching. I feel like that is the group. Tui, 30 minutes. No excuses. Leave this man on the floor, man. He can defend 1 to 4. He showed it. He can score. He can rebound. And we got to mention that alley-oop he caught. Good Lord. But you got to play Kawhi Noy, man. This dude can score. Anything less than 20 minutes for Kawhi Noy, I feel is malpractice. Jaylen Adams, off the ball, on the ball, whatever, man. He got to stay on the floor for 30-plus minutes. Now, those other couple of positions, you can kind of rotate depending on who's playing well. Don't go all of a sudden changing things up if you want some consistency.
Yep, absolutely. Do you reckon the Kings, the front office, the people cutting the checks in Sydney would have just tapped Brian on the shoulder last night and said, you need what? Sorry? Exactly.
Like, what, you going to bring in this point guard, another guard, man? Like, that's not going to move the needle. Here's what I saw. When Sean Bruce was off the floor, now Sean Bruce he didn't have great stats, but I felt like he had a good presence. But once they were switching all the ball screens and he ended up on Matt Hurt, then he was getting in foul trouble. So then they took him out of the game, and then they started double teaming Matt Hurt in the block. I thought this is great. So late in game, Jaylen Adams, you notice, he was off the ball, but Kawhi Noy brought the ball up, or Xavier Cooks brought the ball up. Them two guys ain't going to never be under pressure. They get it through a couple of hands, and then it finishes with Jaylen. I mean, so to bring in another point guard is just going to I could be wrong. I feel like it's just going to wreck everything.
Well, it means you can't play one of those guys. And it was interesting, Matt Russell made a good call in commentary last night, sort of comparing maybe the Sean Bruce factor to the Mason Peatling factor in Illawarra, where, well, if you want him to play and you're struggling to get him minutes, put him in with that starting group and then see where it rolls from there.
I'm telling you, they look great. Now, if Kelly LePepe comes back into the lineup, that's probably going to spell the end of Cam Oliver. But Cam Oliver, like, I got to give him nothing but credit. In his minutes and everything that he's been through, I felt he was better than rock solid. And Brian said in his press conference, they're going to need Cam Oliver if they want to win the entire championship. Cam just have to stay ready and stay professional and just and do what he did last night. Just be productive.
Before we leave this one, if you're Josh King and you're reviewing those late game situations for the Phoenix, because through three quarters they were terrific, how closely are you sort of looking at that last quarter and needing to just tighten up a few things?
Okay, this is the thing, and Josh King, I'm sure he'll be all over this. The Southeast Melbourne Phoenix have a tendency to forget what got them there. They've got Nathan Sober's been playing some great, efficient basketball over the last 5-6 games. Derek Warren Jr. has been playing some great basketball. But them two guys can also be the same guys that they can come out with some bad, ill-advised shots. Derek Warren Jr. took a shot, man, in transition. It was so outlandish. He came down in transition, between the legs, spin, fade away, short corner. I was like, what? Not now, no. And then that led to a Kawhi Noy three-pointer to take the lead. I thought, see, it's possessions. You got to get real finite. And this is what I like what Jaylen Adams does. He don't make bad decisions. Whereas the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, they can go on a run of bad decisions. They need to be able to calm that down in the moment.
Yep, absolutely. So that's the win for the Kings last night. There was an important one for them. No doubt about that. It could have been so much more for the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Let's talk about the games coming up. There is a jam-packed schedule. Tonight's game is top versus bottom. It is Illawarra and Cairns. The Cairns Taipans were soundly beaten by the New Zealand Breakers the other night. The Illawarra Hawks, all of a sudden, are coming off a loss, having gone down to the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix on New Year's Eve. I think we know what we'll get from Illawarra, so the question is on Cairns here. Is there any silver lining out of that performance? Where does Adam Ford go now?
That beat down that Cairns suffered at home, there's not one silver lining came out of that game. Taron Armstrong and Rob Edwards had their worst games of the season combined. Outside of Tanner Groves' efforts, nothing. That was an embarrassment. Now, I'm hearing that they could have a couple of key outs, some injury clouds over a couple of players, and they can't afford to have anybody missing games. And I just feel like Cairns, as much as I want to see them win, I still believe there's a win left in them this season. They got 3 imports, Joe. Adrian Peterson, sorry. They've got 3 imports. They've got Taron Armstrong, Sam Wardenberg, and Kylan Galloway. What the hell is the problem with you dudes? How come you just can't get a dub? I'm shocked, man. I don't know what I can say. I mean, Adam Ford, we need to check in to see how he's tracking, but you look at that roster, and there's no way they should be getting beat like this.
Yep, it's and it could be anything tonight. So hopefully they can put up a fight, certainly more than what they did, and find some energy and find some intensity that they just didn't have on New Year's Eve. We roll around to Saturday, and a couple of intriguing things here in that there's a couple of really good games, but also the Summer Shootout starts. So you can jump on the NBL website, get involved with the Summer Shootout. So, of course, the premise is pretty simple. There's 10 teams in this competition. Each of them has picked an away game in which they think they'll score the most points. You can go on, predict which team you think will score the most points against their nominated away opponent, what they will score, and win yourself a cool $100,000 just by doing so. You need to get your entries in very soon. Of course, the first of those games is on Saturday, is Adelaide and Melbourne United. Which Adelaide do we see here, Damon?
No idea. Wouldn't have a clue. Now, I got to acknowledge what Adelaide 36ers went to Sydney and did last round. That was phenomenal. That was classic bounce back. Here's the response game for what they dished up at home the previous game. So full credit to them. They went and had the crisis meeting. They looked each other in the eye and they said, let's hold each other accountable. Let's play for each other. And that was great basketball. That was impressive. Can they do it again? That's the question now. Like we say, one hot day don't make a summer. They're going to have to back that thing up and run it back. And one thing I always say is anybody can be happy and playing great and loving life when things are going your way. You are defined by when things don't go your way. Now, let's see if they can still keep that same spirit if they down 12 or down 14 like the Sydney Kings did. Sydney Kings came back from 18 down. If Adelaide 36ers can harness that, bottle that, what they came out and played with, they are a playoff team. They are a playoff caliber team if they can play like that. Can they string them together? We're about to find out.
And can they do it against the Melbourne United side that hasn't played in a little while? They've had plenty of rest recently, so what we see from Melbourne United will be interesting as well. The Brisbane Bullets and the Sydney Kings is a late game, so the Kings have nominated this game in Brisbane as their Summer Shootout match. Josh Adams officially confirmed by the Bullets yesterday. It's been boiling away for a little while. We all knew it was coming, but officially confirmed as the replacement for James Bateman yesterday for the Brisbane Bullets. What are you expecting both from him and the fit? Not necessarily in this first game out, but over the course of the rest of the season.
I like the Josh Adams. I like that signing. Now, he's we've seen his work already. He's familiar with the league. He's been in the grand final. He's a big shot maker. But, Joe, he's got, I can't say the word on this, but he's got that in him. He's got it in him. You know what I'm talking about. He don't mess around. He's got a real edge to him. Now, if he can come in and not wreck the balance, the Kendrick Cook, the Casey Prather, the Tyrell Harrison, those are the big three. Josh will have his moments, no doubt about it. He's a combo guard that can score, and he's got minerals. He's got them, man. So I like the signing for that. And now it's up to Adams to come in and kind of fit in, where he needs to.
I'll get you to just tip those two Saturday games. So Melbourne and Adelaide, Sydney and Brisbane, who wins them?
Oof. I'm going Melbourne United in a very close one. I would not be surprised if Adelaide did win, but I'm going to go with the team that has been more trustworthy. Adelaide's not trustworthy yet. So I'm taking them. In the second game, who'd you say again?
Sydney, Brisbane, so in Brisbane.
Yeah, now I got to go to Kings. Brisbane's going to put up a spirited fight, and again, I wouldn't be surprised, but Sydney, I feel like if Brian, like I said, if he can stay consistent with those rotations and those three studs playing the bulk of the minutes, I feel like they'll be too tough to beat.
Our Sunday games quickly before we get out of here. So New Zealand, Perth, Breakers coming off a win. Perth coming off a 7-day break. This one is in New Zealand, the early game on Sunday. How do you think it shakes out?
Man, New Zealand coming off a is it a good win? It was a win. They're coming off a win. Now, Taco Fall is playing some good basketball. Perry Carpenter, man, he's got to get at least one Coach of the Year vote. At least one. He's found out a way to reinvent the team middle of the season. Now, without Parker Jackson Cartwright, though, coming up against a little bit of a tougher opposition, I don't think New Zealand's going to get this one. I feel like Perth still know how to win. They got the scoring hierarchy, and I don't know who on that team is going to guard Bryce. Give me Perth in that one.
And then Tassie, Southeast Melbourne finishes it off for Sunday at least. The round does continue through until Wednesday. But Tassie is absolutely rolling. They're unbeaten in Hobart. They haven't lost there in almost a year in the regular season. You've got to go back to Game 4 of the Grand Final series since they last tasted defeat. And, of course, that was a postseason game. And Southeast Melbourne roll in there after their fourth quarter fade-outs. Have they any chance to upset the Jackies?
100% a chance. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm not tipping against the Jackies at home, but the Jackies are going to have to score over 100 points. I know that much because Southeast Melbourne Phoenix are scoring. There'll be their third game in 6 days. Who cares? Nobody. I feel like Tassie should get that one done because they're going to control the tempo and they're kind of more trustworthy down the stretch with some decision-making. So give me the Jackies in that one.
All right, I like it. It's a pretty jam-packed round. There's going to be some things that shake out, of course. Then it continues Tuesday, Wednesday. There'll be more to come before we get to that part of the round. We'll have a couple of NBL Nows to come your way before then as well. So we'll leave those two games for a little bit later on in the schedule. Damon, have a great weekend. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow night and Skull Vikings on Monday.
My man.
Damon Lowery with us on NBL Now. Thanks for your company. Have a great weekend. Plenty of NBL hoops coming your way. And remember, if you haven't already, Summer Shootout entries, they will close before those first games on Saturday afternoon. Melbourne and Adelaide, and then, of course, Sydney at Brisbane. Head to nbl.com.au/shootout. Get involved. Your chance to win $100,000. We'll see you very soon.